Welcome back. Well, today we're going to look at higher education, how Jehovah's Witnesses view higher education. Did you realize that according to Pew Research, Jehovah's Witnesses are the lowest educated religion on the face of the planet? Well, according to the U.S. Pew Research, the lowest. You know, the Jews, everyone else has a way higher education. They go to college, they believe in university, but only Jehovah's Witnesses have this view on higher education. Why is that? Well, the answer is quite simple. Jehovah's Witnesses are not a religion, it's a cult. Anytime that you have someone restricting your education, you know you're in a cult. One of the telltale signs, it's just internet that, Google that. There's all kinds of information on that. I'm going to show you what they believe right from their horse's mouth. This is this month off their broadcast, and they're preached some clips this month, and it'll show you what they think of higher education.
Jehovah knows my thoughts and feelings. Have I really been seeking great things for myself? It's true. Jehovah's always right. My desires got the better of me, and I was so distressed. But Jehovah's kindly telling me, Barak, be realistic. A divine judgment is coming. Everything that seems so stable will be uprooted. Material things, property, money, or a prominent career, it's all temporary. Seeking those things is dangerous. Seeking those things is dangerous.
Seeking those things is dangerous. You know, I don't often tell a lot of my stories, but I was a faithful Jehovah's Witness probably back in the 90s. And we were just switching from bookkeeping to computerized bookkeeping, and there was a course. It was out of town. You had to travel a half hour. I was going to pay for it all as the employer and have this sister that was working for me be trained. So she went home. She was a younger sister, but she was over 18. But she was living at home and pioneering. Her dad was the presiding overseer of the congregation, and they had a talk and decided that this was higher education and she could not pursue it. Just a little upgrade. It was a 1-week course. She had to go every day for a week. So then what I did is I talked to my bookkeeper, who was from out of town, and she'd come in, my major bookkeeper, which would come in and review the books once a month. And I had to pay her extra to have this sister trained just at work. And I did eventually get her trained, and the sister eventually went off, because I moved or sold the company or whatever. But she ended up pioneering, moved away from home, and she was making enough money bookkeeping on the computerized bookkeeping for brothers and sisters all over the place, that she could regularly pioneer. And from as far as I know, to this day, she's probably still a bookkeeper relying on the computer. And here it was demonized, or there's no way that this elder would send his daughter or allow that. And I couldn't figure this out until getting out of the organization, like where I am now. And I'm going to show you how I figured this out. I figured it out from their own elder's book. It's in there. So he did what the org told him to do, what the 11 men, you see, we all worship the cult leaders. They call them the faithful, discreet slave. And we were all worshiping them. So whatever they said in the watchtower was like gold. It was like God. And we were so excited if they said something that was new light or whatever. That's how brainwashed all of us Jehovah's Witnesses were. But anyways, let's see how much more brainwashed they're pumping. And this is 2025 stuff, folks. I'm giving you stories back in the 90s. This is brand new stuff. This is how they're brainwashing their people to hate education, to view it as bad and dangerous.
Seeing those things is dangerous. Jehovah wants me and others to survive the coming calamity. Today's world Many people are seeking great things for themselves as they pursue secular education and secular work. Many believe that the key to success and the key to their and their family's happiness involves money and getting more material things, or a resting place in this system of things. Such thinking could influence us.
So if people are thinking that they need some money, they need to buy a car, they need a resting place, they need a home, you have a family, you need a job. And if you have some jobs, just like the example I gave you, the sister had to learn the bookkeeping on the computer. Back then, that was a big deal, like was big education. No one was doing bookkeeping on computers. But it was dangerous back then. But yet now everyone does it, and everyone does it on a tablet. The times have changed. So Jehovah's Witnesses haven't changed. Education, higher education is still wrong because you need some money. You need to make money or plan that. It just blows me away on how they twist this subtly. They throw all these little things in and they convince their flock that higher education is from the devil. Let's carry on.
You parents must also make personal decisions about secular education for your children. Naturally, you want them to get a good education, but you have to think carefully about potential dangers. For example, in some countries, parents send their young children away to boarding schools. The March 15, 1997 issue of the Watchtower discussed the scriptural principles involved and related a number of experiences highlighting the dangers. A brother named Clement said that before going away to boarding school, he loved the truth and enjoyed participating in the ministry, in family worship, and at meetings. However, he said, once I went into boarding school at the age of 14, I left the truth completely. Throughout the 5 years I spent in boarding school, I never attended meetings. As a result of bad competitions involving education and employment, there may be many choices, but which...
Now I just want to come back and talk about this. He's talking about the boarding school. And the reason I threw that in is once a person is away from the meetings, the regular brainwashing, the regular indoctrination, the mind starts to clear up, and a lot of people leave the religion because they realize it's a cult. Like, it's so easy to realize it's a cult once you stop going to the meetings. And that's so important for anybody out there. You have to stop the meetings, stop allowing the JW influence from coming into your brain, and replace that with something else. Replace it with something else. There's lots of things to replace it with. You have to figure that out as your journey. Now, this shows us this kid that attended the boarding school after 4 years. They call it the truth, but he was out of the cult. And that's what they're afraid of. That's why they don't want people going to higher education or boarding school for that matter.
As a result of bad competitions involving education and employment, there may be many choices, but which ones will help you live up to your dedication to Jehovah? One sister said this, as a baptized witness, I had read and heard about the dangers of pursuing university education, but I dismissed such warnings. I thought that counsel did not apply to me. Well, our sister made her personal choice in the matter, but was it a wise one? She continues, studying for my courses took so much time and effort that I was too busy to linger in prayer to Jehovah the way I used to, too exhausted to enjoy Bible discussions with others, and too tired to prepare well for the meetings. Thankfully, once I realized that being immersed in higher education was damaging my relationship with Jehovah, I knew I had to stop, and I did. And I did. Of what do these real-life examples remind us?
You know what they remind me of? They remind me of my old bookkeeper. I was a JW at the time. I was a ministerial servant, and I couldn't believe it. And I went and talked to another elder about this, and he says, well, it's kind of a matter of conscience. Well, it wasn't. And we'll look at that in a bit here. But these real life examples that they pitch in front of the people here are to help their whole audience feel that if they were to take a higher education, they're doing something terribly wrong. And they're going to fall out of Jehovah's favor and fall out of the truth. And by falling out of the truth, you end up getting shunned. You remember this year's thing is shunned but not forgotten, XJW friends. So we want to keep that in mind. But you get shunned if you fall out of the truth. So it's a serious thing for Jehovah's Witnesses, this higher education thing, especially for born-ins, anyways, from my experience.
In Satan's system of things, we will face challenges that test our determination to put Jehovah's will first in our lives. Like Barak, personal desires could distract us. Action to correct our viewpoint, as did Barak. Happily, through the Bible and spiritual instruction from the faithful slave, Jehovah helps us make better choices in personal areas of life, such as those involving secular education and secular work.
So you notice how they throw in the faithful slave. This is their 11 cult leaders. So they talk about the faithful slave and how Jehovah helps us make better choices.
Make better choices in personal areas of life, such as those involving secular education and secular work.
This is going to be a story of this kid that was discouraged from taking higher education. We'll watch the whole story.
I worked in an office in the financial district. I enjoyed everything about working there. Passing these tall skyscrapers, institutions with big names. In terms of what I wanted from life, at that time it was great. Spiritually, it was not the best at all. You have to make yourself stand out. That really, affected my personality. I didn't even realize it at the time. I was pioneering, and I decided to apply for Bethel and was accepted. And my assignment was to do cleaning. And from my background, that kind of work, it was something that was looked down on. It's not something you would choose to do. I was used to an environment where if you did well, you could move to the next step and you'd be recognized for it. And this was the case for me, that I derived so much value from these external things, these privileges, and being set apart from others. I thrived on that commendation, both at work and in the congregation. So when you don't get it, then you feel lost a little bit. Other brothers were getting more recognition. And that just played in my head a little bit. The spiritual environment in Bethel has taught me and is teaching me that our value is nothing to do with the privileges that we enjoy. When we feed off the recognition from men, it's almost like we're chasing the next compliment or the next praise. You can always feel like you're chasing happiness. But, switching my thinking to thinking about Jehovah's recognition, it gives you more peace and it's more sustainable. And it really helped me to see that no matter what circumstances I'm in, I can be happy, I can be joyful. It's been good molding. Yeah.
Isn't it comforting to know Jehovah recognizes our whole-souled service, even when it feels like others don't?
Okay, so I want to talk about this Bethel, the young boy going to Bethel over not pioneering and all of this. Now, to any of you guys out there, if you're JW still and you're in Bethel or you're pioneering, you're not contributing to anything for when you retire. You see, in Canada, we have what they call CCP. When you're employed through a real employer, the real employer makes the contributions for you in your tax submissions, and it's done monthly. And then when you turn 65, you get a check. You get a paycheck. But you see, all of these Bethelites, all of these pioneers, they don't have that. All of these self-employed window washers, most of them do not pay in to the retirement pension plan here in Canada. And I'm sure in the US and in Australia and in Europe and in every other country, there's something similar. But the Jehovah's Witnesses do not pay into it because they do not believe that they will retire. They believe that they will keep living forever on a paradise earth, this whole brainwashed thing. But yet many of us have gotten old in this system. We believed it. And fortunately for some of us, we've paid into the CCP. We got into jobs where we had to pay into it, fortunately. But I wonder how many of those self-employed window washers, janitors, pay into CCP. None of them. And that's a fact. When you come out of Bethel, you have nothing. You're on your own. If you're in an assignment and you get sick and you have to be sent home, you're on your own. I had a bookkeeper that had to quit, another bookkeeper, and move to live with her parents because her husband got sick on an assignment. So there is no insurance through Jehovah, which equals a watchtower. Jehovah doesn't miraculously put food in your refrigerator. It doesn't work that way. The elders send you to the food bank. And that's a sad thing. And it's called a charity, and it shouldn't be. This religion is nothing more than a business recruiting all of these laborers for free to propagate their business worldwide.
Many of us need to work to support ourselves, but finding the type of work that allows us to serve Jehovah whole-souled may be challenging. Let's see how Bible principles influence the career decisions of two young publishers.
Why was it difficult to choose a career?
Most of my family have a university degree. Some are lawyers, engineers, accountants, and so on. So they expected me to go to university as well. They told me, "We don't have a doctor in the family yet. We think you should study medicine."
When I was 16, I was about to leave high school. Many of my schoolmates were planning to study at university and would say things like, "I want to go to this school. Which one are you going to?" I felt a lot of pressure to get a higher education. My teachers told me that I needed to continue my studies if I really wanted to make money.
I wanted to be a teacher, but there was so much pressure from my family to study something that would allow me to have a higher salary.
There were times when I felt overwhelmed because of the pressure. Even after I graduated from high school, a teacher contacted me to make sure that I was planning to go to university and, in his words, actually become someone in this world.
I started a 6-year psychology degree at university. And at the same time, I was studying for a teacher certificate on the weekends. And on top of all of that, I was working part-time. I was trying to do everything.
What helped you make a good decision?
I spoke with my mom about what I should do. She helped me to think about some of the dangers I would be exposed to at university, things that could endanger me in a spiritual sense.
I want to talk about that, these dangers, and this is one of the things that Jehovah's Witnesses throw out at their kids to discourage them from taking a higher education. If they haven't become a loyal servant of Jehovah or Jesus, a follower of Christ, let's put it that way, by the time they leave home, you haven't done your job right, parents or Watchtower. Your religion has failed. And that's so true. The religion has failed because when they put the pressure isn't from the outside world to take university and to do that. There's encouragement given, And if you want to be a doctor, well, Jehovah's Witnesses need doctors and nurses and things like that, lawyers. They're looking for lawyers all the time. They need higher education. But yet, they pressure their people. They put the pressure on not to take the higher education. But if you haven't done your job, parents, by the time your kid hits university, you haven't done it right anyways. And in some religions, like the Amish, they let their kids out for 2 years to see if they want to choose the religion. The kids should be able to make that choice without the pressure. And throwing this in front of them all the time, it's nonsense. This is not real. Now, some kids are going to get involved with partying and living it up anyways. And especially religious people that have been held down and held in a cage for years and years and years. And then you open the door to the cage, and then all of a sudden they go wild. That happens to a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses.
After about 2 years, it became clear that I couldn't continue with such a busy routine. I needed to make a change. I remembered some advice I got from a friend. He had studied to become an accountant when he was young, but now he sells chilies. He jokingly said, "So now I'm counting chilies, so I guess you could say that it is what I studied." He explained that many people end up in jobs that have nothing to do with their university degree.
Philippians 1:10 helped me. It says that we should make sure of the more important things. I knew that finding a job was important, but it was more important that I had time for Jehovah.
I've always loved Jehovah's promise at Matthew 6:33, where he says that he will make sure we have what we need if we keep seeking first the kingdom and his righteousness. I had already seen this promise come true in my life, so I trusted that Jehovah would continue to provide for me.
I knew that if I studied at university, I would be losing valuable time during my youth, time that I could be using for Jehovah.
Sometimes we have many different options in front of us, or we know that we need to adjust our course. That's when looking to Bible principles can help us to choose the right path.
My father has a barbershop, and he offered to teach me how to be a barber. My parents told me, people will always need a haircut. So even though I knew I wouldn't be making millions as a barber, it was work that would always be in demand.
I decided to leave university halfway through my degree and look for...
Okay, I just wanted to back up here and talk about this. So here this kid could have had a university degree, could have been a doctor, could have been anything, and his mom encouraged him to be a barber. A barber. Now, being a barber, this kid, he's just getting tip kind of stuff, little cash. They're not paying into CCP, they're not paying into retirement programs within the country. And so when this kid grows old, he has nothing. Or when he's crippled or something happens, he has no insurance or nothing. But he's a barber, and everyone needs a haircut. Well, it's not that simple, folks, but this is how JW.org programs their people. These are all some real kids here that they've read some scripts to, and maybe some of these stories are true. Most stories are stretched, very stretched. I believe very little what I see off JW.org. These are all skits. And the reason I can say that with confidence is because when I was coming in, they put me on the assembly program and they made me say things that didn't happen, that were not a part of my mind. Because the things they wanted said by a young, newly baptized person, and it had to fit their program. So they just find these kids to fit their program, and these kids get molded and they give these scripts. So don't take any of this verbatim. These are all storytellers. These are all skits. And I'm not going to say that it's not all true, but I'm going to tell you that a lot of it's not true and a lot of it's stretched. So let's carry on.
It was work that would always be in demand.
I decided to leave university halfway through my degree and look for part-time teaching work. During that time, I prayed so much, asking Jehovah to bless my decision.
What benefits have come from your decisions?
I'm my own boss. I work in a barber shop and also travel to people's homes and give them haircuts. I have the freedom to decide the days and hours that I work.
Jehovah answered my prayers. I was able to find part-time work teaching at a school, which allows me to be in full-time service, along with my husband.
Because of the flexibility I have with my work, I enjoy opportunities to participate in construction projects for the organization. I've seen clearly that by focusing on what's most important, Jehovah has blessed me.
I wanted to just back up here. They like to slide this construction stuff in a lot of their videos with the younger people because this is free labor. You know how big it is to get free labor out of these young people? And these young, they talk about, we looked at that video where the young person felt like he wasn't being recognized at work and stuff like that because he's vacuuming at the Bethel. Well, you see the kid here, he's doing a selfie and he's sending the selfie out because he's famous now. He's a construction worker for Bethel or for Watchtower. You become famous. You become your own little category where you're up in the world, so you send that out to everyone. And this is what they're promoting. You get training, you can go on the construction, and you work for free. You work for free, and then you go back home and you do your window cleaning, or you're a barber. This kid's a barber because he counts his own hours, does his own thing, I guess, gives haircuts, runs around on his bicycle, giving haircuts to different people. But he can go to Bethel and he can work for free at Ramapo. And this is what Watchtower wants. 70% of the price of any constructed project is labor. Labor's the biggest cost, folks. And JW.org gets all their labor for free. There's no WCB, workman's compensation. There's no insurance programs. They get hurt on the site. Is Bethel going to feed them for life if they fall off a building and hurt themselves? There's nothing like that in this religion, folks. This religion just uses people and is training these young people to dedicate their lives to this corporation that's just building more kingdom halls, and it's not a charity. It does not help people, and it keeps their people dumb. Let's finish the rest of this video.
For the organization. I've seen clearly that by focusing on what's most important, Jehovah has blessed me.
I continue to see the fulfillment of Matthew 6:33 in my life. Jehovah has always provided what I needed.
Okay, well, that's the gist of it for the March broadcast 2025 on how they're brainwashing their flock into viewing higher education as dangerous. Now, I'm going to take you over to the Elders book here, and this is a Shepherding the Flock book, and we're going to show you this is the 2024 edition. This is what they're currently using right here. So we have education plugged into the search bar here. And I'll just show you. It comes right up here. Brothers qualifications. Make that a little bigger. You see brothers qualifications. He, a member of his household, pursues higher education. We hit that. Takes us to this section 30. If he's a member, pursues higher education. Here's all the instructions to the body of elders and what they have to do to discipline another elder. So they ask them, first of all, they look if anybody's pursuing higher education, first of all, anybody in the congregation. And then they look at their pattern of life and they go through all these. Does he reject what's published by the faithful, discreet slave on the dangers of higher education? So you're viewed as a sinner, basically, for rejecting the cult members right here. It's right in their elders book. So this is all backed by their elders book. They look at your speech, your conduct, your family, your goals. And if you don't qualify, then they take you through the procedures to disqualify you as a brother. So I want to talk about one other thing. We talked a lot about insurance. They have all these free workers, JW.org. We know it's a cult. It's not a charity. It's just building new buildings, new kingdom halls. So they want lots of cult workers, lots of workers for free. But if they brought you into some higher education to do cult work for them, That'd be no problem. They actually do train lawyers. They need higher education. But it'd be no problem. You'd be allowed to do that because you'd have special permission by the cult leaders, you see. We're going to look at what happens when you can't find food. What do the elders tell you? Okay, the next one is for relief, disaster relief. This is going to be the same instructions, similar instructions you're going to get if you're a regular pioneer, you can't feed yourself. They're going to send you down to the food bank. Now, number 4 here, it says help publishers determine if they qualify for assistance through a government or a social program. So they're going to get you working through the worldly Satan system, because you see, this way JW.org doesn't have to do anything. If you leave Bethel, you can go to social assistance, social programs, government programs, if you qualify. You see, you won't qualify if you don't pay into them. It says personal insurance. You don't have any. Or because you can't afford to buy personal insurance off hair cutting, riding your bicycle around cutting people's hair, or some other source. Now, if a particular relief organization is in general of a religious nature, like the Catholic Church, but funded by the government, there's no objection to the publisher accepting humanitarian aid, as long as they are not also accepting a membership in the Catholic Church or the religious organization. Well, you have the Mormons on the ground. You have lots of people on the ground when helping out, helping poor people with food. There's Catholic soup kitchens. So yeah, you can go there. It's right in the Elders book. It says before they submit an application for such assistance, ensure that publishers understand what would be required of them after they receive help. Like if you got assistance from the Watchtower, what would be required of you? These are personal matters for you to talk about. So this is a disaster relief. You have to be qualified before you get the organization helping to rebuild your house in a disaster. They don't just come in and rebuild your house. You have to be qualified. Let's say you're not even publishing anymore. You're weak, but you attend, or you're there once in a while. You probably won't qualify. So you might have to go get relief supplies from the government. That's what they're telling you here. Go down to the government. This is supposed to be a religion, folks. We call this a religion. This is not a charity. It does not even help its own people. And it tells its people to be dumb. Do not take higher education. In fact, if you do, and you have privileges, you're going to lose all your privileges because you are a bad person. It's dangerous. And you have not followed what the faithful and discreet slave have said. You see, this is how they view it. You have not followed the cult members. So once you get out of that nonsense, you can clearly see that, you know what, this organization, they're not helping you. Jehovah is not helping you. You know, they'll send people down to the food bank and say, look at that, Jehovah's helped you. Bullshit. Bullshit. That's not Jehovah. Jehovah, that's Satan's system. You see the cognitive dissonance that it creates in a person's head? And this is why lots of Jehovah's Witnesses end up just having mental problems. They're on pills continually. They're depressed. It's because of this cognitive dissonance that's going on within the Watchtower. So folks, this brings an end to my program today. Thanks for sticking with me. And when it comes to education, do not listen to the Watchtower. And remember, keep living your day with love. It always works. We'll see you on the next video. Bye for now.